The importance of literacy and articulation in today's young men. This scholarly dissertation inquires deeply into the undeniable significance of literacy and articulate communication, especially their quintessential roles in delineating the life trajectories of contemporary young men. Through a meticulous examination, it illuminates the profound implications these intellectual faculties bear upon career progression, entrepreneurial ventures, and the greater landscape of social mobility. Comparing the manifold benefits gleaned from these competencies with the grievous repercussions of their dearth, this discourse accentuates the imperative for an unwavering commitment to the cultivation of literacy and eloquent communication. It is the sine qua non for attaining holistic prosperity and life gratification. Introduction. In our current epoch, characterized by the incessant deluge of information and the paramountcy of nuanced interpersonal exchanges, literacy and the art of articulate communication have undoubtedly cemented themselves as paramount life skills. Young men, attempting to decode and maneuver through this convoluted socio-professional culture, find that mastering literacy and eloquence is far beyond a mere aspiration, it is a categorical necessity. Such expertise facilitates their journey across multifarious social and vocational terrains, imbuing them with the intellectual arsenal required for judicious life determinations and the cultivation of mutually beneficial alliances. Conversely, a deficit in these skills often leads to a plethora of restrictions, severely diminishing opportunities for personal growth and truncating their prospects for comprehensive life satisfaction. Literacy, an in-depth examination of its multidimensional influence on career and entrepreneurial prospects. Literacy, a concept far more nuanced than a rudimentary ability to read and write, constitutes a multidimensional framework that includes sophisticated reading comprehension, eloquent writing capabilities, and a discerning ability for textual interpretation. This construct, underpinned by semiotics and lingual dexterity, forms the cornerstone upon which complex communicative aptitudes are meticulously developed and refined. For young men in particular, though, of course, not exclusively so, a comprehensive understanding and application of literacy equip them with versatile skills that are applicable across an extensive range of professional and entrepreneurial endeavors. Access to information in the hyperconnected age, navigating the deluge of data. We dwell in what is colloquially referred to as the information age, a period distinguished by an exponential increase in the availability and rapid dissemination of data across globalized digital platforms. Neil Postman's seminal work Amusing Ourselves to Death, 1985, explicates that literacy, in its heightened form, grants individuals a high information-action ratio, essentially the faculty to discern the salient from the trivial amidst a ceaseless deluge of information. This heightened discernment is not only salient but also instrumental for success within the fast-paced, volatile landscape of contemporary industries. With significant historical precedents, even the classical philosophers like Plato were acutely aware of the power of literacy in accessing, sifting, and synthesizing knowledge. Plato, Phaedrus. Efficacious communication, the art and science of persuasive written discourse. Proficiency in written communication is not merely a desirable skill but an indispensable asset in various professional contexts. Whether one is engaged in the creation of meticulously crafted business proposals, the compilation of comprehensive analytical reports, or the negotiation of high-stakes contracts, an adept mastery over the written form confers an aura of unassailable professionalism and sagacity. Walter J. Ong, in Orality and Literacy, 1982, examines into the intricate interplay between literacy and oral traditions, highlighting that the written word has unique, irreplaceable virtues that include permanence and the capacity for nuanced argumentation. Thus, literacy amplifies both perceived and actual credibility, competence, and persuasiveness in professional dialogues. Cicero's writings on the art of rhetoric, De Orator, also substantiate the evergreen importance of effective communication skills for career advancement. Critical thinking and problem solving, literacy as a catalyst for conscientization and cognitive acuity. Literacy serves not merely as a utilitarian tool for basic communication, but as a catalyst for conscientization, a term popularized by the illustrious Brazilian educationalist Paulo Freire in his landmark treatise Pedagogy of the Oppressed, 1970. Freire argued that literacy transcends functional utility, acting as a transformative agent that ignites cognitive faculties necessary for problem solving, decision-making, and rigorous analytical reasoning. These are not merely adjunct benefits but indispensable competencies within the multifaceted landscape of modern professional and entrepreneurial engagements. This echoes the ancient Greek concept of techne, which highlighted the relationship between craft, art, and intellect, whereby literacy would serve as the modern techne facilitating professional dexterity. To conclude, the multitudinous facets of literacy contribute not just to personal edification but have widespread, resonant implications across various occupational and entrepreneurial landscapes. A robust literacy aptitude does not merely enrich one's intellectual arsenal but substantially augments one's prospects for career advancement and entrepreneurial success. Therefore, an in-depth comprehension of literacy and its applications emerges as an irrefutable imperative in contemporary society. Articulation, and its empowering facet in realizing social ambitions, a multidimensional exploration. Articulation, herein comprehended as the sagacious ability to articulate one's intellectual contemplations and emotive resonances with linguistic exactitude and non-verbal nuance, furnishes a compendious array of socio-cultural and psychosocial dividends. A. Cultivating social rapport, the dissemination of trust and mutual understanding. The dexterity one exhibits in articulating personal philosophies and emotional predilections can act as a catalyst in sculpting a social ecology that is propitious for fostering relational integrity and consanguineous understanding. Robert Cialdini, a luminary in the field of psychology and social influence, has perspicaciously postulated that adroit communication functions as a fulcrum of social gravity, a requisite for the crystallization of robust alliances and the augmentation of collaborative enterprises. Cialdini, 1984. This notion is congruent with Irving Goffman's conceptualization of interaction rituals, whereby conversational finesse constitutes a vital element in the broader dramaturgy of social cohesion. Goffman, 1967. B. Conflict resolution, the semiotics of amicable arbitration. The significance of articulate proficiency transcends the rudimentary gamut of casual interaction to penetrate the labyrinthine intricacies of dispute resolution. Through the prism of the seminal work Getting to Yes, by Fisher and Urey, 1981, one's capacitation to elucidate grievances in tandem with proffering rational, conciliatory solutions, while engendering a climate conducive to dialectical reciprocity, serves as the cornerstone in metamorphosing latent antagonism into harmonic resolutions. This stratagem dovetails neatly with the heuristic systematic model of persuasion, which emphasizes the confluence of heuristic cues and systematic scrutiny in effective mediation. Chaikin, Lieberman, and Eadley, 1989. C. Persuasion and influence, the Aristotelian triumvirate of rhetorical appeals. Drawing from the Aristotelian lexicon as espoused in his magnum opus Rhetoric, the dialectic artifice of persuasion is fundamentally tethered to an individual's prowess in synergistically deploying logical, emotive, and ethical appeals in an intricately embroidered tapestry of argumentation. Aristotle, 4th century BCE. In this respect, Cicero's concept of elocutio in his treatise De Orator emphasizes the quintessential role that linguistic fluency plays in persuading publics, thus manifesting the fecundity of articulative skill in wielding influence. Cicero, 55 BCE. Pitfalls of inarticulacy and literacy deficiency, socioeconomic and psychological detriments. A. curtailed professional trajectories, the diminution of vocational plenitude. A dearth of literary acumen and verbal articulation exerts a pernicious effect on one's occupational prospects. The exacerbation of this issue is further highlighted in the era of the knowledge economy, where there is a burgeoning predilection among employers for candidates endowed with formidable communicative alacrity. Bradel, 1997. The seminal study by economist Gary S. Becker on human capital underscores the detriment of literacy shortfalls in professional competitiveness. Becker, 1964. B. Fractured social dynamics, the erosion of communitarian capital. The incapacity to efficaciously communicate one's ideational and effective constellations compromises not only interpersonal relationships but also engenders an existential risk of social marginalization. This detriment further depletes the repositories of societal capital, a concept elucidated with profundity by political scientist Robert Putnam in his tome Bowling Alone, Putnam, 2000. In this regard, Pierre Bourdieu's construct of social capital as a form of currency in social transactions becomes all the more salient. Bourdieu, 1986. C. Obstructed personal evolution, the intellectual stagnation of adaptive learning. A scarcity of literacy aptitudes can fetter an individual's capacity for reflective and critical cogitation, engendering a cataclysmic impact on their aptitude for adaptive learning and the consequent intellectual maturation. This is a notion that is germane to John Dewey's conceptualization of experiential learning as a dynamic interplay between learning and lived experience. Dewey, 1933. The theoretical framework posited by Vygotsky regarding the zone of proximal development further corroborates the indispensable role of linguistic facility in cognitive development. Vygotsky, 1978. Conclusion? Literacy and articulation, those seminal competencies imbued with momentous implications, operate as the pivotal fulcrums upon which a young man's trajectory through vocational pursuits, entrepreneurial undertakings, and social interactions are meticulously balanced. The limits of my language mean the limits of my world, Ludwig Wittgenstein postulated in his magnum opus, Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, 1921. Within this conceptual framework, the onus is incontrovertibly incumbent upon scholastic institutions, pedagogues, vocational mentors, and the pillars of familial infrastructure to harmonize their endeavors assiduously and tirelessly cultivate these essential faculties in nascent males. In the realm of educational establishments, it becomes an inalienable imperative to espouse innovative pedagogical methodologies that not only integrate but accentuate the acquisition of literacy and articulate communication. As the eminent Paulo Freire propounded in his landmark text Pedagogy of the Oppressed, 1970, education should be a dialogic process between the student and the world, thus incorporating literacy and communication as requisite tools for reading the world. Ergo, these methodologies should embody a transformative nexus, seamlessly amalgamating foundational subjects with the cultivation of communication skills, thereby extending their relevance beyond mere curricular confines. When it comes to the domain of mentorship, strategic initiatives ought to be established which adroitly pair incipient individuals with seasoned professionals and industry cognoscenti who epitomize these very virtues. Research by Cram and Isabella, 1985, elucidates the nuances of mentorship, proposing that career functions and psychosocial functions often intertwine, demonstrating that the benefits of effective mentorship go beyond vocational training and explore into deeper levels of personal development. Mentorship should thus transcend traditional professional guidance, metamorphosing into an enriching dialogue that potentiates the articulateness and literacy levels of the protégé. In a domestic milieu, familial settings should be orchestrated with meticulous precision to create intellectually fertile environments. Here, the paradigms of familial literacy, expounded upon by scholars such as Catherine Snow, 1983, serve as apt archetypes. These paradigms posit that the home serves not merely as a dwelling but a cauldron for intellectual and emotional maturation, demanding a structural and ambient design which intentionally cultivates literate and articulate progeny. In summation, literacy and eloquent expression serve not merely as the rudimentary underpinnings but as the robust bedrocks upon which young men can assiduously construct their citadel of personal and professional achievement. These competencies transcend their functional roles as gateways to multifarious opportunities, they metamorphose into integral constituents of a cognizant, enriching, and fulfilling existence. The indelible words of British educational philosopher R.S. Peters, who contended that education is the initiation into the worthwhile, Ethics and Education, 1966, encapsulate the essence of this argument. By assiduously prioritizing these competencies within the superstructure of our educational and societal architecture, we undeniably pave the way for empowering young men to not only meet the measure of success but to effloresce in the labyrinthine intricacies of our cosmopolitan, tightly interwoven global society.